Well, welcome back to another episode of Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. This will be the final episode on plastic surgery, being plastic surgery part 4. Now, of the 4 prototypes I'm building, 3 of them have the L-shaped window on the cab face. So in this episode, I'm going to go over how I've cut the scale train's cab face and have inserted the Canon & Company L-shaped window. So without wasting too much time here on the introduction, let me get the camera set up and we'll dive right into the work and I'll show you how I've done it. With the camera set up here on my workplace, let's jump right into this. So let me zoom in a little bit here. Let's get these in focus. There we go. Alright, so what I need to do is I need to put this piece over the cab. Now, I was going to put the entire piece over the cab, just replace that in there like that. But then I was thinking, I really like the scale train's door. I don't want to take off the door. The Canon & Company door is okay, but it's just not what I'm looking for. I want to retain as much of the scale train's model as possible. So I came up with a new solution, and this time I'm going to show you ahead of time what I've done. I've completed 2 of these already. So this is the last one to do. So this is what I've done here. So I've retained the door and I've cut out this section here, which would be this section here. Let me get a pointer out here. This here, and set in the Canon & Company face piece. So the first thing I needed to do, let me put this cab back on the shell. There we go. Get it on, there we go. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to come up with a tool or a fixture that'll hold this cab firmly so that I can put it in the mill and properly mill it. So I came up with this. This is the fixture. And it basically just slides on just like that. So it's exactly the same size as the inside. What I did is I glued together 6 pieces of 1/4 by 1/2 inch styrene blocks and then machined it all so that it all fits perfectly in. Then I added this back piece. I needed to add this back piece because the cab's going to sit like this in the mill, so I needed a flat bottom on it to put up against the parallels, and then I can just mill it away. Well, I need to protect the sides also, so I have these pieces. This flat, or this piece here, fits right into the window like that, and then I have one for the other side, fits into the window area like that. Now I can squeeze this in the mill and I can mill that out. So first I need to mark on the face here where I need to cut. So in order to do that, I don't want to cut any higher than this lip on the side of the roof. So this face piece that I'm going to be putting in here is going to be even with that lip, so I don't have to do any filling on the roof, and it's going to go straight across to be right even with the edge of the weld bead on the door, or the door frame, come down across. So we're going to take all of that out. This piece is 25 thousandths, 26 thousandths thick. Excuse me, so I need to cut down 25 or 26 thousandths. I'll measure this first before I make the cuts. Now I'm going to show you something real quick, and this is no big deal. You see this hole here? And if I just rotate this around, this hole here, both in the exact same place on either side of the cab. Well, this is the side piece that goes on this side, and you'll notice that hole is right there. or that boss is right there. So it'll fit in there just fine. Well, on the other side, if I flip this up, see where the hole is? Now if I turn you and show you the back, see where the boss is? It doesn't match up with the hole. No big deal, just cut that off. All the other holes are fine. Somewhere in the translation of probably the machinists or the drawings, they didn't mirror or translate this to that. So, like I said, no big deal, just one of those things. And when I did my review of the Scale Trains SD45, you don't really see those things. But when you start working on it, you start picking up these little intricacies and the little things that maybe go wrong or they didn't pay attention to or something like that. That's no big deal. I wouldn't ding them on anything like that. The one thing I wish they did not do is, you see this white tab and that white tab? Well, those are the pins for the number board piece. They decided, you know, it's an undecorated shell, so maybe we should glue this piece on. I have no idea why they would glue that on and not just put that piece in the parts bag. That would have been the better thing to do. But they did. Or just stick it on and we can pull it off when it's time to paint it ourselves. But I had to snap those off. It seems on all of the cabs they only glued this side on. This side wasn't glued on. But like I said, no big deal there. I was able to snap the pins off and not ruin the number board piece, and it'll go right back in place. So with this process of what I'm going to be doing here, the first thing I need to do is, let me zoom in a little bit more. I don't know if you can see this on camera, but if you're going to build a Canon cab, whether it's with this face or the standard 2-window face with the vertical side window, you need to clean off all sides, all edges of every piece. There's a little lip around the leading edge on each piece. You need to clean that all flat, all the way around. Now I only need to clean this side, this side, this side, this side, because this is going to be cut off, this is going to be cut off. So I'm going to go ahead and just get a number 11 blade out, a sharp number 11 blade. I'm going to clean these square, this square, you know, clean all this square. Another thing you need to be aware of is these molds are getting old, and it's not a slam against Canon and Company, it's not a slam against Dave Hussey or anything like that. These molds are made from brass, so they're going to wear out a lot faster than steel molds. When you start looking really close at these, you're going to see flash inside the window gasket area. You just want to make sure you clean all that flash out. And once you do, the window will look much, much better. Here, I'll show you. I cleaned them out of these ones. So here you got a window. It looks much better. So let me go ahead and get this cleaned up. And I always make sure that this edge and this edge are square to each other, because those are the two edges that I'm sorry, this edge and this, yeah, this edge and this edge are square to each other, because I use these two edges to square it up on the cab face to mark where I need to cut. I need to mark here and a little spot right down there for when I cut it here. So let me go ahead and get this all cleaned up. I'll mark it and cut it, and I'll show you what the piece will look like that I'll have to put on here. Okay, so I have the edges cleaned up here, and I have these pieces cut off here, these additional, or these items that were on the cab before. So this was the door, goes this way. So that was the door, and then this was the number boards, the windows and stuff were here. So I cut that off. I cleaned up the edges. I cleaned up all the flash on the inside of the window gaskets. Now, what I'm going to do next, so I'll go over what I'm going to do next. I'll do it, I'll show it, and then I'll move on to the next step. So, on the Canon and Company cab faces, you have pads above the windows for window or for windshield wipers. So I'm going to drill those with a 10 thousandths drill bit just as a pilot hole or placeholder. Then I'm going to come back real quick. When I start working on these, I put new blades in the knives. You want really good sharp blades when you're doing this kind of work. I also put a new chisel blade in my chisel knife. So then I'll come back and I'll use the chisel and I'll slice those pads off. And the reason for that is when I get this finely to size and I glue it onto the cab face, there's going to be a joint line right across the top here. When I go to sanding, I don't want those pads there to interrupt the level of sanding, so it won't go up and down and up and down. I want it level, a nice smooth sand all the way across. So I'll cut those pads off. Now, I need to mark this upper surface so that it is even with the lip on the roof side here of the cab. And it just so happens that Scale Trains made their cabs as nice to dimension as Canon did. So this little angle right here on the side of the cab matches where that needs to be. So I just need to put a straight edge or a square on that angle and scribe a line all the way across. So I'll get that done, and I'm also going to trim off the gaskets on these windows so that they're flush with the face of the cab, and clean up these glue marks from the Scale Trains assemblers so that all of this surface is flat, because I'm going to tack glue this to this in order to scribe my line for where I need to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and get this scribed, and then I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to mark this surface, and I'll show you it all when it gets done. But real quick, what I do, when I built this tool, there's a shelf right here in here. So that allows me to put this cab face right there. When I glue it in place, that way it's square with the bottom of the cab. Everything will line up properly, and I can scribe my line across the face of the cab. So I'll go ahead and get this portion done. I'll get this cleaned up, and then I'll get this tack glued to here and show you what that all comes out to. Real quick, I'll show you how I keep my parts from moving around while I'm scribing, especially flat parts like this. As you can see, I've got a piece of double-sided tape on here. I use a block, put it up against the edge like that, then I'll put the Canon part up against that block and then push it down. That way I know this edge is square to each other. Then I can use my straight edge and I can line it up. I also tape this piece down. I'll put a piece of double-sided tape on my work surface, tape that down. Then I can use both hands to steady this, get it lined up where it needs to go, and use my scriber and put a nice line right across there. I also did the same line for right down here, so I can mill that across, get right up to where those little tabs are there. So the scribing of that is done. It's right at the edge of the where the angle comes down and meets the side. So now I can take this off, square it up in my mill, and mill that edge nice and clean. Now the way I square it up in my mill is, let's say these are the jaws of my vise. I'll put a piece of material in there, and I'll put a piece of double-sided tape on the top of the vise. I'll put a piece of material in there and squeeze it, take the Canon part and do the same thing, put it up against the material, and press it down on the tape. That way I know that my part with this edge up against there, this is square, perpendicular to that, and I can just mill it back and forth and get a nice straight line right across there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, come down and or come back, and we'll fit it up and see how it goes. I still have to cut the or slice the gaskets off and clean this up here. So I'll do that, then I'll do this, we'll come back and I'll scribe on the face of the cab where I need to cut. Whoop, I'm off the camera. Sorry about that. So you heard what I said. I just got to do all this, cut this, bring this back, tack glue it onto here, and then make the scribe line so I know where to cut. So here we have the cab face piece all cut across the top and squared up here. On this portion here, I just barely, I mean so small amount, touched it with the milling bit and then cut it straight across. I wanted to make sure that this was perfectly square, and if I put this together like that, put this up against, put this up against here, slide it up against there, it fits perfectly. There's no gap, no anything between the metal piece and the triangle and the cab face. So that's taken care of. Now earlier I had said that I want to cut right up to the edge. I'm going to make sure I'm on camera here. I'm going to cut right on the edge of this side of the cab roof. You see that little lip sticking out there. Well, what I need to edit that and say, I don't want to go past that. If I come down a little bit off of it, let's say I marked my cab face so that it goes even with that edge, but then I come down maybe a thousandth or so, that's okay. The key is not to go above that edge. So I'm good with that. Now we'll take this. Oh, and you can see I've shaved off all of the gaskets for these 3 windows and such. So I've taken care of all of that. Everything's preserved over here. Don't have to worry about anything like that. So now I can take this, put it right on there, and you can see how it's going to fit. I'll definitely have to trim a little bit off of this edge to fit inside this door jamb, but everything seems to work just fine. What I did here is I made this little piece gauge that goes right up into that notch in the side there, and what that does for me is when I lay this piece on here, whoops, lay that piece on there, it centers where the window should be, right on center with the cab. So that's, I mean, right now I just need to get the scribe in here and in here, but I'll be able to use this piece at least to know where I'm centered on the cab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this to this face. So I'm going to take some of my Tamiya cement. I'm going to put a blob there. I'm going to put a blob right there, right there, right there, and right there. Okay. Then I'm going to take this, drop it in place, push it down against the bottom, and I'll hold that in place and just push it in where it needs to be. Oop. All I want to make sure is that this edge is up against this and this edge is up against the bottom, and it'll throw everything else where it needs to be. So press that in. Carefully push down on that without moving it. And I'll let that set up, and I'll come in here and I'll just make sure that my edge is where is straight across here. There we go. Oh, just a second. Oh, there's a little tab sticking out there, so let me put this piece back in. And if I put that up against that, it's perfectly across the top. So I'm going to let that glue set up. Like I've said before, the scale train's plastic is fairly soft. It's not brittle like ABS or anything, but it's not as soft as the Canon & Company plastic. So when it comes time, I can just snap this piece off. So I'll let that set up, I'll scribe that, and then I'll cut it down. Now the cavity is cut. You can see from here, here, over to here, and in this area. It's all cut out. Now I did something on this one that I didn't do on the other ones. On the other ones, I cut this wall all the way out. On this one, I wanted to see if I could keep just a sliver of this wall, which would allow this side piece to properly butt up against it like that. I can't put it in right now because it's got these pins and there's holes, and I've got the block in there. And right now it's tacked to this block, which I need to keep it tacked to the block right now because I need to now cut these windows a little bit bigger, because I'm going to have to get in from behind once it's in place to put the glass in. But as you can see, I can get this, there we go. It all fits in very nicely now. Now, of course, I'll glue it from behind with CA, and then I'll do a little bit of gap filling around the edges. That'll seal everything up, sand it all, and it'll be perfect. So right now what I'll do is I'll take an X-Acto knife, and I'll go right inside and scribe a line where on the inside of where the Canon window meets the cab face, and that'll open up, that'll give me the pattern I need to cut to open these up so that I can get some glass in from the inside to the Canon part. So I'll go ahead and do that. We'll cut these. I was not able to preserve the little tab that sits on the bottom. It just came right off once I cut straight across here. So that's okay. I've got this piece here that I can use, and I can, once I get the cab face on there, I can locate the center properly, get this piece, make a little tiny notch in the Canon part right down at the base here, and let me see, there we go, right down at the base here, and so it'll line up with the hole on the shell. So right now I'll get these windows cut out, and then I can glue this in place. So now the cab face is in. I've got it glued all the way around, and from the inside. It's all sanded, all the joints are filled, and it's all sanded. Next step is to put this back in the mill, because I need to take this bottom edge of the Canon face even with where the scale train's bottom edge is. Otherwise it won't sit on the nose properly. So I'm going to go in with a small milling bit. I think it's a 1/32, no, it's a 1/16 inch diameter milling bit, and I'll come in and I'll cut up just to where the scale train's bottom edge is. As same for this side here. I have to cut this side to where the scale train's portion is on the inside there. When that's done, then I need to put this in on the shell, mark where the nose comes up to, and then cut a small notch right in here and put the new securing tab right in there. So let me get all that done, and once that's all in place and done, this portion of the build is finished. So let me go get this cut, I'll get the tab put in and I'll show you the results. And there we have it. The cab is now done with its surgical procedures. I've got the new tab put in place. On these shells, I have to glue a piece of 5000 styrene to the back side of the opening, so when I put the cab on, it will pull the nose up against the face of the cab. So there we have it. I think it turned out really well. So that takes care of all of the surgery, plastic surgery. And let me pull the camera back and I'll end this video. Well, that takes care of all the plastic surgery. Now I can move on to building the model. Well, not quite just yet. The true test will come next when I grit blast all of this surgery that I did, all this plastic modifications that I did, and then put a very light coat of primer gray over it. The primer gray will reveal any blemishes or joints that I need to go back and refill. So I want to make sure that all of this is perfect before I go and put the real coat of paint on it. So I've got 3 shells done. See if I can get these together and give you a look-see at the 3. And there we have them. All 3 shells are ready to go. Now remember, the 4th one has a standard cab on it. So I don't need to do anything to the 4th one. So the plastic surgery is done. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you followed this series so far, I really appreciate it. And I thank you for your support.